Hello, hello. Welcome to the last meeting of this series of Mystics Talks, and we have a very special guest tonight, and I'm really happy that the rain didn't scare you out. Mr. Andreas Kisser of Sepultura. Big applause.
Thank you, obrigado.
Thank you very much for letting us meet you and ask a couple of questions. First, me. In behalf of Sepultura fans, and I consider myself one as well. And then there will be room for some questions from the audience. If the rain is getting very heavy and will scare you out, we will cut it short. But we have like the latest weather forecast. It's not gonna be any worse, probably during this conversation. So let's start then. I won't ask you anymore why Sepultura is saying farewell to the stage because you've answered this question a lot of times already. But since these concerts have been so fantastically received, maybe you've changed your mind.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for being here on this Mystic Talks. It's a pretty interesting idea, actually, to have this conversation with fans, not only from Poland, but I believe from a lot of different places around the world. One thing, it's connected to the other. You know, the announcement of the farewell created this atmosphere as well, you know, because a lot of people that never seen Sepultura came to our shows. And not only young fans, but people that follow Sepultura for many years, for some reason or another, they never saw Sepultura live. But they were fans, you know, buying albums and merch and etc. But they never had the chance to see a concert. And on this, we started this farewell last year, which was amazing run all over the world, especially in Europe, you know. And we see a lot of emotion, memories, you know, fans that remember the first show or the first T-shirt or the first song that ever heard, a friend that talked about a Sepultura, even people that met in a Sepultura show, now they're married, they're bringing their kids, you know, to see Sepultura. And it's a fantastic feeling, you know, it's amazing. And it is the way it's supposed to be, you know. The way we portrayed this was really as a celebration and not a sad moment or something, you know. We're not fighting inside the band. We enjoy each other. We're having a great time on stage. We just came from Iceland. It was the first time that we played there. And this farewell idea, it gave us these opportunities to fulfill dreams like that, you know. It was a long time wish for Sepultura to play in Iceland. And we finally did it, you know, because we have this farewell aura, you know, to say goodbye, to say thank you to all the fans. And it is the way it's supposed to be, a happy environment that we are feeling great. The show is amazing, you know, we're feeling fantastic on stage and off stage. We don't drink alcohol anymore, you know, which helps a lot for us to be on stage with full energy, to enjoy the day, not having hangovers and all that stuff, you know, that in the past, it got in the way a little bit. Maybe a lot of the problems that we had with the Cavaleras and all that era could be resolved without alcohol involved, you know. But that's another subject. But it's great to be here, and the farewell is working great. So this is the idea, you know, to finish in a really high note.
How large was the show in Iceland? How big audience was in audience? How big was the audience in Iceland?
Yeah, it was 2,100 people. It was amazing, you know, for Iceland, you know, and the first time. And so heavy metal is there. Fans that are following Sepultura for many years. a lot of curiosity as well, young fans too. So it was a great feeling, it was amazing.
You're probably not used to play that small shows anymore, like 2,000 people.
Yeah, we play everything, everywhere. I mean, lately we're doing really big shows, big festivals and stuff. But, like Iceland is so special, and this is the size it is, It doesn't matter if it's too big or too small. It just matters that the fans are there. They were so happy. We were happy to be on stage and enjoy that moment, It was fantastic.
Let's go back to a very distant past. Sepultura made a quickly career outside of your country, but I would like to ask you about the time a little bit before that, about the Cogumelo Records phenomenon, because this record label and its like early catalog, it's like a very great amount of metal music. There were like great bands in Brazil in middle 80s. So where did that come from? Where did this scene come from?
Ratos de Porão, yeah, our brothers. Cogumelo Records is an amazing story. It came from Belo Horizonte, same city that Sepultura was born, is from. Max, Igor, and Paulo, and Jairo, all used to live there. And Cogumelo Records was run by a couple. They were married, and they have this record store, a very small record store, that have heavy metal, whatever they have, like Iron Maiden albums and imports, the new scene like Venom and all that thrash metal scene from Bay Area. Very unique albums that people bought it in a group to make cassette tapes for everyone. It's the same story, which is
pretty
amazing.
Much the same like in Poland. Yeah.
It's a different times. It started before Europe and the States. Brazil started a little later, but the same way. There was the same communication and stuff. So, but Cogumelo was very brave to invest and to believe in the new talents of the city. Sepultura recorded the first album. Igor was 13 years old. Recording drums, playing. They record Bestial Devastation. The instruments were not in tune. The sound is not good. But there's so much spirit, so much power, so much belief, and so much energy. It's pure art, That's why I think it's so weird to re-record those albums, because that moment, it's very magical. It was very difficult to make it happen. A lot of people helped with equipment, or let's stay in my house for a week. I give you food and you go to the studio and stuff. They're recording in 2 days or in a day or something. So I think that's why still today you have such a following. Not only Sepultura but Sarcófago and Overdose and Holocausto and Chacal and everyone, Mutilator, yeah, everyone. So. But they started, they believed, and they invest in a studio to make an album, to release an album was so difficult, but they did it. Like a split album, Bestial, Sepultura in one side, Overdose, a band more like, not as that metal, but metal in a different style. But, it came out, and that was the beginning of a new era, really, in Brazil. Because from then on, we saw was like a following, was a scene going on, that people were buying the albums, they were going to the concerts, small but very tight and very strong, and it started to grow from Belo Horizonte. In São Paulo, we have Woodstock Records as well. They didn't invest in new bands, but they have the whole catalog, all the albums that we are looking for, Rock Brigade magazine as well. They started creating a label too that put out some bands, SP Metal compilation with the bands from Brazil, Corsos, and among others, So the scene was very fertile during those days, and Cogumelo was one of the main important factors, that made it happen.
I was thinking that maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that maybe Rock in Rio was an impact as well, because
January '85. Yeah,
you like teenagers, you get to see all these great bands, and that could.
I
be
was
like
there.
inspiring,
Yes,
right?
I was there. 1985. It changed my life. I was there to see Ozzy Osbourne because was my biggest idol at the time. Bark at the Moon tour, Jakey Lee on the guitar. But I saw also Whitesnake with Cozy Powell on drums and John Sykes on the guitar, Whitesnake at the top, and Queen with Freddie Mercury on all that Radio Gaga tour. Dude, AC/DC, Scorpions, it was like, wow, nothing happened in Brazil, and all of a sudden Rock in Rio brought, and not only heavy metal and rock and roll, but James Taylor and B-52, Yes, dude, among Brazilian bands, they had the same opportunity to join them on stage. And that's where it started to create this national rock identity in Brazil. The big bands like Paralamas do Sucesso, for instance, is a big band in Brazil that started basically in Rock in Rio to be known nationwide, So, yeah, it was a fantastic feeling to be there and to see everything. And Brazil was going through political changes as well. 1964, we had this coup d'etat, military coup d'etat, that it was up to 1985. And then it was the time of changing and the atmosphere of freedom, let's say, to express ourselves and to have rock and roll and, to express a Brazilian identity through a different sounds. And not only all the same that we still have, of course, the samba and the classical music and etc. But you have this rock and roll identity, Brazilian identity, that started to open in 1985.
So that could be the reason why, except for the very early stages of Sepultura, the band was not really focused on this regular metal topics when it comes to lyrics, but more of social, political issues.
Yeah, I mean, Sepultura started copying, bestial devastation. You heard that before, right? Antichrist. How many Antichrists? There's only one. No. But every band has an Antichrist, So it was the beginning, of course. You copy your idols, you wanted to sound like them and etc., But when I joined Sepultura, I brought some of the lyrics that I had. I always write as well, but Escape to the Void was dealing more of this psychological style, which unfortunately we see today, anxiety and, all the problems that are consequences of this, especially the young generation with internet and all that stuff, And we are talking about on schizophrenia, for instance. That was the topic it changed a lot from the evil and satanic stuff to talk about ourselves, long hair, tattoos, living in Brazil with all the prejudice, a musician not being recognized as a profession, you all treated as like fucking, useless vagabonds or whatever, But that also gave us fuel, to go on and to keep going and to prove ourselves and to respond everyone through music, which we did. So it was art is always a very special place, to express what you feel, regardless of if it's music, poetry, painting, writing, whatever, So I think we were privileged to have that to deal with all that. Growing up.
Did you often hear from people from distant places of the world that some of the lyrics that were written, some of the songs that were written by Brazilian band, talking about the Brazilian experience, they actually fit to some distant places and distant planets, and maybe in distant places on this planet, maybe different times even, but they're still universal.
Yeah, definitely, and we learned that traveling. In 1989 we started touring the world when we released the Beneath the Remains album through Roadrunner, which was the first worldwide release, and we had the first tour with Sodom, and then we started to see the world by ourselves, traveling throughout Europe, United States, Canada. Our Rise tour, took us to Australia. We played with Ozzy Osbourne, meeting our idols and stuff face to face, was very revolutionary for us, and we started to see Brazil with a different perspective. Once we were in Brazil, very radical, listening only to European and American bands. All the Brazilian stuff for us was really not good. And then we went outside and we saw Brazil from outside. It's like an astronaut seeing the planet Earth from the moon. You know, you have a different perspective of your house, of your home, of your island, you know, that you're there since you were born. And then you come out and you see a different thing. And we realized Brazil was so special and so different, music-wise, with percussion, with samba, with the Brazilian culture, the acoustic guitar, you know, the country music, everything was very unique. Like all cultures have your unique features, you know, and we have ours. And we start using these elements in our music and our lyrics as well, to talk about Brazil, talk about São Paulo, to show more a realistic idea of what Brazil is. Not only the beaches, the beautiful women, or the rainforest of the samba and carnival, you know. Also, we have that, of course, but also all the chaos of São Paulo, of the big city, the police brutality, politics, and all that stuff that, you know, growing up we have to face being a teenager in Brazil, you know. So we started putting that on our lyrics, and we learned we have a lot more in common than we think, you know. I mean, politics and religion especially, they divided too much people, while music and heavy metal especially unites people, you know. Sepultura played more than 80 countries in 41 years of history. You know, regardless of politics or religion, we went to Indonesia, we went to Morocco, we went to, you know, to Poland, to everywhere, you know. We came to Poland in 1992. You know, it was an amazing experience for us.
And it was a different country back then.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And Lithuania and Latvia, you know, and Russia, 1992. It was an amazing experience. Amazing. We saw Berlin months before the fall of the wall in 1989 when we toured with Sodom there, you know. So, of course, that's going to have an impact on what we write, you know, or what we see. And like I said, art is an amazing tool to do that.
And has the Brazil changed a lot during these years? Because as you said, when you started, it was not really friendly environment for young musicians, especially playing new music that is probably not well accepted in the wide society. How is it now?
No, now it changed a lot for sure. Brazil, it's like boiling music and art in every aspect, you know, in every style. We see so many artists doing music from every part of society, you know, for the favelas, from the country music, which is the biggest selling, you know, artists are from the country music, from the Bahia influence, like Caetano Veloso, Gilberto Gil. I just saw Gilberto Gil, which is 85 or 86 years old, doing like 3 nights in a huge stadium in São Paulo, you know. It's like fantastic feeling to see that. And a lot of heavy metal. I have a radio show in São Paulo together with my son, Johan. He's 27 years old. We have this radio show in São Paulo for 13 years now. Every Sunday, just playing heavy metal, basically more of the Brazilian bands, you know, to show the Brazilian metal music and to do interviews with the bands and etc. And it's so great to see how rich, you know, it is, the different styles and different mixtures, and so many bands are doing stuff. You see Ratos de Porão, that was mentioned here, touring, and Crisium, and Angra, and all the great Brazilian bands, you know, Torture Squad and Claustrophobia, you know, they're all very active and doing great stuff, and it's great to see that.
Let's go to your style of playing and composing music, because it's easy to hear lots of influences that go beyond the world of metal. But when writing songs for Sepultura, of course, metal has to dominate because this is this kind of band. Is this one of the reasons why you decided to stop Sepultura because you want to explore different kind of music more?
No, I really, I was never really, I never felt kind of locked in a Sepultura world to write. We're always very fearless to do whatever we want. I mean, Nation is a very different album. Alex, you know, all those albums that were inspired by books and stuff, you know. So it is, I think, more of the routine of being in a band like Sepultura. 40 years, man. Have you ever done something for 40 years, like your job or your change? Think about it. People doesn't have 40 years yet, but you know, it's like an amazing achievement inside the entertainment business to have such a band for so long and ups and downs, to have a following. Every time we were doing albums, we were playing, we had a deal with the record label, regardless of the formation, regardless of the time we were. We play for 10 people, and then, you know, we're back to play big places and stuff. It's a beautiful history. It's a beautiful history of art and life, you know. And I was kind of feeling to get in that mode of doing another album, doing another tour. It's kind of too predictable, you know. It's like, I mean, an artist, it has to be not in the comfort zone, you know. If you're there, you're fucked, you know, because you're gonna lose touch with reality. You're gonna start living in this bubble of what Sepultura should be. There's no should. There's a new Sepultura every day. We can do anything we want, you know, musically wise, because we conquered that. Sepultura is this. It's not thrash metal, it's not heavy metal, it's not dark metal, it's not Brazilian metal, it's Sepultura metal. That's why we have a name, right? Otherwise, you know, why you have a name? This is Sepultura. That's what we are, you know. Very free. We're not scared or to take risks, you know. Art is risk. If you do something new, you're going to take a risk. You know, there's no other way. And that's where you learn, with your mistakes or with your errors and your everything, you know. So, but it's great to stop in a great momentum without fighting, without an external factor breaking up this band, you know. It's our own terms. We chose that very peacefully, conscient decision. We took 2 years talking about, you know, working out, preparing this, and now we're enjoying ourselves, you know. It's amazing. And why not? I mean, it's a privilege to have that possibility, to stop while we can, or to stop in this momentum, you know. And then the future is the future. Let's see.
I'd like to go back to this question about inspirations, especially those beyond metal. So what do you have to put, you know, on the one side of the pipeline to get the Sepultura song from the other one?
It's just us. If me, Paulo, and everyone that were a part of Sepultura. That's why the albums are so different, because we are very honest and true to ourselves. Sepultura doesn't have a formula. It have like a spirit, you know. It has something which is not, you cannot measure. It's something that it keeps together. Me and Paulo, we are together playing for, you know, almost this for 38 years or 39 years or something like that, you know. Derek's in the band for 25 years or so, I don't know, 30 years. And Grayson just came in with the powerful feeling, a powerful energy, an amazing guy who also helping taking Sepultura to the next level. We record 4 new songs with Grayson on drums. You know, I don't think nobody knows that, but there we go. We have 4 new songs, and we have the intention to next year to release an EP, just to celebrate this momentum. You know, it's original songs that we worked. It's already recorded and everything, and we're taking our time really to see where it's going to be the good time to do it. And but it was very spontaneous. You know, we have a situation that we play the 70,000 tons of metal, and we stay in Miami. we have the studio, we have a few ideas. Okay, let's do it. And it was great, you know. No pressure from label, no due date. The songs doesn't even have a name yet, you know. But it's great. That's what I'm talking about. The pressure of this routine thing. You know, people calling due dates and stuff. Oh, we have to mix. We have to do solo and stuff. Dude, we did in our time with no rush, you know, but there's no names. We can decide that later. We're still mixing the material, you know, no rush. And it's great, you know, because of the farewell idea, we can do that as well, you know, to plan something like that or not plan something like that, you know, plan as less that we can to really to challenge ourselves artistically to work something like that, you know.
That's very interesting that the idea of saying goodbye kind of sets you free.
I learned that, unfortunately, with the passing of my wife, Patricia, after cancer, almost 3 years ago. It's going to be 3 years ago now in July. And the process was very difficult, of course. It was a year and a half since the diagnosis to her passing. And the very last days, and my questions, being Brazilian without knowing how to deal with that situation bureaucratically, to talk to a hospital, to talk to a doctor. Why in Brazil nobody talks about euthanasia, about assisted suicide, the stuff that people are suffering every day, but nobody talks about because of prejudice, because of fear, and all the stupid stuff, you know. So I learned we have to face and embrace death as a part of life. That's why celebrating life through death, you know, there's a big influence that, you know, because I'm learning so much to live every day, to live every moment, because I learned so much with the passing of my wife, you know, the way it happened and everything. So, yeah, the farewell, it gives you a whole new perspective on things because you respect finitude. We all gonna die. You know, heavy metal says that on every album. You know, we deal with that with no problem. You know, and we have to embrace that. Once we embrace that, we're gonna fulfill our dreams. We're gonna go to Iceland. We're gonna do things that we never did before. We're gonna talk to a relative or a parent. You know, to resolve things. Yeah, I'm not gonna wait till tomorrow to say or to give a hug to my son or say I love you. You know, maybe there's no tomorrow, and. So it gives a whole new perspective of the present. You know, that's why we are enjoying so much the moment, because it gave a whole new perspective, and it's great because you talk to your family about dying, what you want to do, what you want to have on your coffin, what you want to make with your body, what you want to make with your organs. You know, a lot of different stuff. You know, technical stuff that you have to sign. That if you die, you leave to your kids or your inheritance, you know, that have to deal with a lot of problems. Once you're alive, you could resolve that, you know. So just start talking about that and having curiosity about. So when it comes, you are a little more prepared to deal with that, you know.
Has this farewell tour made you think about the legacy you left behind? You're leaving behind, meaning that. Of course, the diehard Sepultura fans, they will have like all the albums and the EPs and probably 10 versions of each album and rarities and everything. But usually, artists are remembered by one album that stands out for some reason, 1-2 songs. Did you think of that, for example? What would that be, or what? Which of the songs or the albums is like the closest to your heart?
You have to ask them, not me.
Okay, that's why the very end of
each one of us have a preference. You know, it's really hard to say, oh, this is the album or this is the song. You know, I think the legacy is to show that it's possible. Anything is possible. If you work, if you prepare yourself, if you study, and if you have discipline. Sepultura was always very disciplined on rehearsals, you know, very focused. Since I joined Sepultura, we rehearse every day, you know, to write and to build. And you know, we were kind of crazy, but we were very responsible. We never miss a flight. We never miss a sound check or interview and stuff, you know. We were very on point. for us was very important because we fought so much to be here, to be what we do. We love what we do. This is a fantastic journey, So I think the legacy is that, anything is possible if you focus, if you really believe in yourself and invest in yourself, learning, reading, listening to different styles of music, always open for new ideas that you're going to develop your own identity, instead of just copying anyone else, So I think Sepultura showed that regardless of coming from Brazil, very difficult, no equipment, no nothing, basically no studios, no everything. And we did what we did with what we have, And it's an amazing journey, 40 years and counting.
And the message, the story is very uplifting, and saying goodbye on your own terms as well. But did you ever think during these years, did you, or maybe there were a couple of these situations, that this is the end? I mean, this is the wall. We cannot overcome these obstacles. From like outsiders' point of view, the Max leaving the band could be that moment, but maybe there is something that we don't know about that was like very difficult for the band, for yourself, and almost ended Sepultura at some point.
Yeah, definitely when Max left the band, because we didn't only lose the singer, we didn't lose the singer only. We lost the manager and the record label, basically, because we have a structure coming from Case Wessels and, Gloria, our manager. We have a way of working things there that we lost completely. Not only the singer, but the whole structure that took Sepultura 10 years. No wonder Soulfly recorded at Malibu Studios with Ross Robinson and Andy Wallace, the crew from the Roots album. The same studio, the same people. The only thing they changed was me, Paulo, and Igor, the musicians. All the rest, they tried to copy and do the same, And the label went that way and etc. And we had to start from scratch. And it was a time there that we thought about stopping everything, trying something else in life, fuck music, But of course, I mean, it's times that you have really to digest, but you have to go through those days. You have to. You cannot deny those feelings, because they help you to build ideas and solutions, And we took our time. We took almost a year without looking for a singer. And we thought about changing the name. We thought about, talking to different managers, finding producers for the album, finding a singer, everything. We have to rebuild basically everything. We kept the name, but we kept all the debts as well and all the chaos that was our finances, It was insane. But step by step, we rebuilt everything. And we didn't make any decisions at the worst time, Because if you make any decisions, this is it, fuck it, I don't want to talk about anymore, that's it, You have really to digest, because emotion is important up to a certain level. It drives you. It gives you a certain level of fear as well and anxiety. But there's a point that you have really to be a little more rational and see possibilities and really discuss things and listen. I think listen is a very important feature that we have that we don't usually give space, to ourselves, not for people who are talking, but to ourselves, So step by step, we have the best times and the right people. And here we are, I think it was a perfect place for us, because you only go through those things going through those things. You don't learn that in any school or any university. You have to deal with that with human beings, basically, in the end.
A band operating on such a large scale for such a long time, it's not limited to the people you see on stage, like to the members of the band. There is the whole crew. There is, as you say, there's management, there's label, there's this whole extended family. Some of the relatives, as in family, are closer, and some of the relatives are maybe a little bit further, but there still are a family. So saying farewell to the stage and to the fans, you also you're also saying goodbye to this family. Would that be difficult?
Not really. I mean, we are friends, you know. It doesn't mean we're not going to see each other anymore. We're just going to be working in different things, you know. And we're going to be Sepultura forever. Sepultura will go on in products and merchandising and vinyl boxes and stuff like that. We are recording a live album as well, you know, to put out after the very last show. 40 songs in 40 different cities around the world. We are recording every concert since Grayson joined the band, you know, so we have a lot of material to choose the 40 songs in 40 different cities, you know, to show really what Sepultura, the history, you know, where we went and where we go. And it's an amazing project. And so, yeah, very excited with everything that's going on. It's a nice goodbye without rushing, you know. It's not because we said goodbye, we have to go running. Take our time.
Are you recording the show in Gdańsk tonight as well?
Yes. So scream.
You have to scream loud to make sure.
Roots!
Yeah. To make sure this song gets on the album. Yeah, definitely. And we've also heard that you're planning like the very final show for 2026. Has it already been decided where this show is gonna be? How will it look like? Any guests? You know, the Farewell Ozzy show that's going to happen this summer will probably raise the expectations for events like this.
Yeah, I think the idea is to do around October 2026 in São Paulo, Brazil. A big Sepul Fest type of show, party with bands that are important and as a part of Sepultura's history. We like to invite every member that was a part of Sepultura, including the Cavalera brothers, to be a part of the concert, to play, to jam. I mean, it's kind of it's totally irrelevant to discuss the past, who is right, who is wrong. We're never gonna get to a point. We have this bottle, and you know, we're gonna have two different views of it, and that's fine. You know, this is irrelevant. Let's jam for the fans, to ourselves, to our families. They never seen us together, but not only them. Jairo, Eloy Casagrande, and Gian Paton and Roy Mayorga, musicians that were a part of Sepultura in very specific and important moments that kept Sepultura flowing and going, regardless of our problems and our challenges that we had, you know. So hopefully that will happen. They are going to be invited. If you want to be a part of this party, you're welcome, you know. If not, that's fine.
I have to check how much are the flights from Poland to Brazil.
Let's go. It's time. October 2026. That's time to plan.
All right. We have room for some questions from the audience. All right. Yeah, gentleman here, please.
Hello. I think that I will ask you about the guitar, because I played the guitar too, and I think that your playing is very special and very original. I think for me it started about a Rice album. I think that your harmonies in your solos and in your playing are very, very, very special, very original. There are many guitar players. It's easy, it's a dream to play fast, but it's some guitarists are very, very special. For example, Brian May. For example, Mark Knopfler. And I think that you are very, very original guitarist. Your harmonies are very special, very original. And my question is, how much strong for your creativity is the climate of Amazonia, Brazil, and something like that? Maybe there are other things. The things which makes you vibe and so on.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for your words. Brian May and Mark Knopfler, very good company. Thank you. Yeah, Brazilian music, of course, it has a lot to do with my playing, especially after a Rise tour. I started to move away from the traditional leads and stuff. You know, every guitar player was doing arpeggios and stuff because, all the Yngwie Malmsteen and Tony McAlpine and, all the jazz players and stuff. And I was kind of wanted to be aware of that because it was so much of that. Everybody was doing the same. And at the same time, we were starting to have the percussion influence in our music, patterns of percussion in different instruments and stuff. So I started to be more dissonant, like the beginning of Propaganda, for instance, that sound, like clenched fist, or even Territory. And I started to be more percussive instead of scale-wise, And I kind of created a sound that really matched what Sepultura was doing percussively, instead of just doing all the whammy bars and all the arpeggios that a lot of guitar players were doing at the time, So I think it really put apart sound-wise, from the rest.
Well, Andreas, thank you very much for coming back to Poland. It's always great to have you back. But I wanted to ask you about one question. After almost 40 years playing live on stage, which one particular song is the most satisfying for you to perform that live?
Wow, that question is always very difficult. But I guess it's the moment, man. It's the song that I'm playing at the moment. It really feels like that because the set list goes through the history. We kind of put in a balance, between the past and the present. And but it's always great to play the riff from Dead Embryonic Cells. That never gets old. It's so metal. It's so cool to play that, and so easy and simple as well. Compared to all the technical Arise stuff. And it's very straightforward. And yeah, that song is always great to jam. But I like them all. Thank you.
Hello, it's a big honor to be here and to listen to everything that you've said. I wanted to ask about the album Against, which for me it just blew my mind because it took heavy music to a whole other level. And can you just talk about what was the inspiration behind that album? How did you get to this point when you decided to do something like that, to just go way out of everything that you ever done before?
That's great, man. Thank you for a question. It's always good to talk about Against, but it goes through that stuff that we were talking about, the most difficult moment, thinking about quitting the job or changing the name and all that stuff, And then we start building singer, manager, producer and stuff, songs. And we were so pissed off because nobody believed in us. Everybody bought that idea that Sepultura was only one guy. And we have to fight against everyone. Against the tide was the idea. Somebody that's swimming up the river, fighting the way through difficulties. And that's the way we felt. And that's why the name Against. And so it's a very emotional album. A new guy in the band, Derek, bringing lyrics, bringing ideas. He could play a little guitar, but not very well. And he has the whole hardcore background, Bad Brains, Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front, something that Max and Igor also had. But Derek lived in Brooklyn there. He lived in New York. He was from Cleveland, which also have like a strong hardcore scene and stuff. So he's an American guy with different perspective. And it was great. We just used the elements that we had. We didn't try to be Sepultura. We were Sepultura. That's the way we were. I mean, we were criticized a lot. The label didn't believe in Sepultura. They just, we had a contract. Let's see what happens, But Against a Nation, which were the two last albums we did with Roadrunner, were so important for us to keep the band alive. And I think Against is the most important album in our career because without Against, we could fall apart, fell apart. That album really kept us. We toured with Slayer for the first time. We did many shows with Metallica. We did a big show in Brazil with the Chavantes Tribe, with Mike Patton, with Jason Newsted. It was an amazing time for us too to to rebuild and to build a new identity as we do every day, right? So again, it was really challengeable, and thanks for the question. It's always good to talk about that album that at the time was so misunderstood, and now it's cool to look back.
One more question from you, Andreas. I'm here. We know each other for many years, right? And we always see each other somewhere in the world. And I'm happy that you came to Poland, my country. And everyone talks about achievements, about your problems, about the difficulties that you went through. I would like to make more like a comment and maybe a question. You treat your fans really, really friendly and really down to the ground. You are not playing, hard to get. And I've seen you with many friends, many fans that became your friends as well as the whole band. And how you perceive us as fans?
Well, I mean, fans are everything. I mean, what we have is like, that's what you guys move. I always like to talk about the heavy metal fans in general, that are very faithful. This is something you learn from an older brother, or from an uncle, or from your father. It's something that comes from family, vinyl collection, a t-shirt collection, the Iron Maiden album, original from 1981. It's like the heavy metal fan, they don't like to buy bootleg stuff. They like to buy the official, who keeps everything alive and well. Look at this festival and how many metal festivals around the world nowadays, which is amazing to see. Well-organized heavy metal fans are so polite, they are here to scream 666 with Bruce Dickinson, I know Iron Maiden is not playing here, just but it's something else. People that see from outside, they don't understand. They see this is violent, all black and evil and stuff. They don't get it. This is so family. We are family, and we are very inclusive. We are very democratic. You see women, you see every type of race or whatever you want to call, represented in metal, with different instruments and different influences. Whatever the style of music that incorporates with metal, it creates something very special and something new, It's an amazing style, it's an amazing life. It's a privilege to be in a metal community, and be a part of this, It's something that's very true. This is very true. This is very real. We don't care about the top 10 or Billboard or the next single. We don't do singles. We do albums, We tell stories. We give the proper respect to the artist who does the cover, who does the T-shirt, designs. Real great artists that conquered the world, like Derek Riggs from Maiden again, and many others. Or Michael Whelan, who did the classic Sepultura covers of Roots and Chaos AD and Arise, and other styles. They don't care about that, and we do. It's like a whole special package. The photos, the lyrics. We like to know where the album was recorded, when, and everything. It's I'm still a fan, because I'm here because I love heavy metal. I love music. And that's why I think there's not that division. We are together in this, because without the fans, this wouldn't be possible. We'll play for a desert of machines.
I think we have room for one last question. If you have any, gentleman over here.
Fala, André, beleza?
Oh, yeah.
So my question is I feel Sepultura is one of the most successful band from a developing country. And I want you, your opinion, how you feel why metal is so united, all over the world, and what's the part of Sepultura that makes this very connected all over the world?
Because very truthful to itself. I mean, metal, it's very honest. What can I say? And everything that I just said, the family vibe, the democratic, inclusive. You see Rob Halford, when he came out to say I'm homosexual and stuff, you didn't see people canceling him. The fans didn't cancel, they didn't burn shirts or made protests in the concerts. Quite the opposite, embraced. Life of Agony, Kid Caputo as well, when they changed gender and stuff. Same band, same fans, the same thing happens. Respect. even Derek in Sepultura, 1997, having a black guy as a singer in the front band. And I think Sepultura played a role like that. At the time was not this discourse or this of inclusive, that we have nowadays, which is, of course, necessary. It's just heavy metal is like that, It doesn't raise stupid questions. It's just act with what we have and respect. I think 100% respect and see how we grow in every aspect. You see, like I said, so many different formats and so many different ages of people playing and stuff, from the big dinosaurs like Black Sabbath, saying the farewell on stage. Ozzy's gonna be there on the throne, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It shows that we're still very young. Heavy metal is very young. Even Black Sabbath they don't like to be considered the creators of heavy metal, but Judas Priest, yes, right? Judas Priest was the first one. Yes, we are metal. Fuck you all, And here, like 50 years, celebrating 50 years strong, fucking playing arenas and big festivals with full energy. We just saw Priest in Brazil a few weeks ago, and it was so emotional, to see them jamming and playing and singing like that. It's very motivational for us that are growing old, And besides stopping with Sepultura, I'm gonna continue with music. I want to be like Ozzy, with whatever, even older.
All right, that's a great way to end this wonderful conversation, wonderful meeting. Thank you very much, Andreas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dziękuję. Thank you. It's great.